I got thrown onto the street after my sibling lied that I was dealing pills. My folks trusted her instantly, though she had nothing to prove it. I was thrown out of my own home after my sister, Rachel, fabricated a lie that I was selling drugs. My parents, Thomas and Linda, didn't even question it. They believed her without a shred of evidence. In our family, keeping up appearances was everything. We were expected to be perfect on the outside, no matter what was happening behind closed doors. My dad, a respected executive in a top insurance firm, and my mom, a well-loved biology professor, had a very specific image of what success looked like. And anyone who didn't fit that mold, especially me, was a disappointment waiting to happen. A few months before everything fell apart, Rachel came to me with a desperate request. She'd gotten herself into some sketchy situations involving people and choices that clearly weren't safe. She begged me to cover for her, to lie to our parents and give her an alibi. She framed it as a family favor, saying I owed her because she'd always had my back. But something about it didn't sit right with me. I was already trying to hold my own life together, and getting dragged into her mess felt like a one-way ticket to disaster, so I said no. That's when her whole demeanor changed. She got furious, like I'd betrayed her, and warned me, cold and serious, that I'd regret crossing her. I thought she was just being dramatic at the time, but that moment, that was the spark that lit the fuse. Not long after that argument, Rachel went full-on vindictive. She told our parents this elaborate lie, that I was selling drugs at college. It was completely baseless, but she sold the story so well, so convincingly, that they didn't even think to question it. No one asked for my side. Not once. Thomas exploded in rage the moment he heard. There was no conversation, just yelling and disgust, like I had become someone he didn't recognize. Linda didn't scream, but the way she looked at me, like I'd shattered her entire world. That silence hit harder than anything. And Rachel? She stood off to the side, watching it all unravel, totally emotionless. Not a word, no guilt, just watching. That day, I was kicked out with nothing but a backpack. I had no money, no place to go, and without their financial support, I had to drop out of school. I bounced between friends' couches, grabbing whatever odd jobs I could just to stay afloat. My whole life, my future, was gone in an instant, and all because my sister lied. Those first few months were the darkest I'd ever known. I felt completely alone. No family, no safety net, just me trying to survive. But little by little, I started putting the pieces back together. I picked up waitressing jobs, saved every dime, and eventually managed to enroll in part-time classes. It wasn't easy. Nothing about it was. But I was determined to prove to myself that I didn't need anyone's approval to build something worthwhile. During that time, I met Daniel. He was different, kind, grounded, and never once made me feel like I had to earn his respect. When I finally opened up about what had happened with my family, he didn't judge me or try to fix it. He just listened. And then he told me something I'll never forget. Family isn't always the people you're born to. It's the ones who show up for you. For the first time, I started to believe that maybe I was worth loving. With him, I felt safe, I felt seen. And slowly, I started building a life that felt like mine, on my terms. Just as Daniel and I were deep into wedding plans, something that should have been a happy, peaceful time, everything got stirred up again. Out of nowhere, I got a text from Thomas, my father. After 6 years of silence, his name popped up on my phone like a ghost from a life I'd left behind. The message was short, cold, almost. He said, Linda, my mother, was very sick. She wanted to see me. He also mentioned they knew about the wedding and that they wanted to be there. No apology, no explanation, just a statement, like the past had never happened. And suddenly I was thrown back into all those feelings I'd spent years trying to untangle. Rejection, anger, pain. How could they want to show up for my wedding when they weren't there, when I was sleeping on couches, when I had nothing, when I needed them most? Even worse, I started getting texts from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, lecturing me about family and how it was cruel of me not to include my parents. Where were they when I was struggling to survive? Not one of them reached out back then. I told Daniel everything. He was calm, supportive, as always. He reminded me that this day, our day, should be about joy, not reopening old wounds. He said I had every right to decide what made me happy, not just in the moment, but long-term. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. Would turning them away now bring me peace, or just more guilt down the road? Not long after my father's message, I got a text from Rachel. I didn't expect it. Not after everything, but there it was. She said she'd heard about the wedding, knew Mom was sick, and wanted to make things right before it was too late. But even as I read her words, I felt nothing but confusion and unease. There was no apology, no ownership of what she had done, just vague comments about family and reconnection. Like she could sweep the past under the rug with a few well-chosen phrases. She wrote about how she missed me, how we'd always be sisters, and how families should stick together, especially now. But the more she said, the more I felt like I was being played. It didn't feel real. It felt like guilt control, like she wanted relief, not reconciliation. All I could think about was how she had destroyed my life with one lie and never once tried to make it right. And now, when the spotlight was on again, my wedding, Mom's illness, now she wanted to be the loving sister. Still, a part of me didn't slam the door shut. I messaged her back, just a few lines. I told her I needed time to think and didn't know how I felt about any of them being at the wedding. I didn't lash out, didn't get emotional. I just laid it out as calmly as I could. Her response, more of the same. More family is everything, and do it for Mom. Not once did she mention what she did to me. Not once did she say, I'm sorry. That silence said everything. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The texts from Thomas, the sudden concern from Rachel, the weight of Linda's illness. It all kept circling in my mind. One moment I felt strong and certain. I had built this life without them, and I needed to protect it. The next, I'd picture my mother, sick, maybe dying, and guilt would sink its claws in deep. Was I being heartless by keeping them out? Or was I finally standing up for myself after years of being dismissed and discarded? I didn't know. I talked it all through with Daniel, again and again. He never pushed, never told me what I should do. He just listened and reminded me of one thing. My wedding, our wedding, was supposed to be a celebration. It should bring joy, not reopen old wounds or invite people who had never shown up when it really counted. He told me to think beyond just the wedding day. Would seeing them there give me peace? Or would it unravel everything I'd worked so hard to heal from? I couldn't deny it. I was still angry, still hurt. And letting them back in felt like opening the door to a fire I'd only just finished putting out. I was stuck torn between compassion and self-preservation. And with the wedding getting closer, the pressure to make a decision only grew heavier. Eventually, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I needed answers. So I went back to the house I hadn't seen in 6 years. It felt surreal, like walking into a memory that didn't quite belong to me anymore. Linda was the only one there when I arrived. She was sitting by the window, and for a second I barely recognized her. She looked so small, fragile, tired in a way that made my chest ache. And when I saw her face, all the anger I had been carrying cracked, just a little. She started crying the moment I walked in. She apologized, really apologized. Said she regretted everything, that she'd written letters over the years but never had the courage to send them. She told me she believed me now, that she had found out the truth too late and was ashamed. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And for the first time in years, I saw the mother I used to know, the one who cared. Then Thomas arrived. Everything shifted the moment he walked in. That same cold confidence, like nothing that happened was his fault. He didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge the pain he'd caused. He actually suggested I was the one who had turned my back on the family. Said I should just move on, for everyone's sake. It was like being a kid again, talking but not being heard. No matter what I said, it didn't matter. He was always right in his own mind. And when I asked where Rachel was, they said she couldn't make it. Of course she couldn't. In the end, Daniel and I decided to keep the wedding small and private. Just a few close friends, no drama, no unexpected guests. It was intimate, quiet, and exactly what we needed. I didn't invite Rachel. When she found out, she blew up, called me selfish, accused me of tearing the family apart. I blocked her after that, honestly. It felt like I finally shut the door on a chapter I'd been trying to close for years. 2 months later, Linda passed away. She went peacefully, and I was there. So was Thomas. As much as we still had our differences, we stood together during that moment. I was grateful for the time I got with her, even if it came late. Toward the end, she felt more like the mother I remembered. Soft, sincere, trying. But the peace didn't last. Rachel showed up after the funeral and completely unraveled everything. She went on a rant, accusing everyone of excluding her, saying the ceremony wasn't good enough for Mom. It wasn't grief. It was attention-seeking, pure and simple. She insulted Linda's memory in front of everyone. That was the final straw for Thomas. He snapped. Told her to leave. Said she had no right to speak that way, not after what she'd done. He looked her in the eyes and told her he never wanted to see her again. In that moment, for the first time, I saw him put someone else's pain before his pride. Since then, Thomas and I have kept in touch, not as father and daughter in the traditional sense, but as two people trying to figure out where they stand. He still hasn't apologized for what he did or said back then, and maybe he never will, but he's no longer pushing. No guilt trips, no lectures, just space. And surprisingly, respect for the boundaries I've drawn. We're not close, but it's calm between us, and right now, that's enough. I used to think I needed some dramatic moment of closure, like an apology or a tearful reunion, to move forward. But now I realize that closure didn't come from anyone else. It came from me, from building a life I'm proud of, from surrounding myself with people who actually see me. Letting go didn't mean forgetting, it just meant I stopped waiting for the past to fix itself.